180 kids, it's your Zoe friend here. So I'm gonna read you a story today from your Jesus Storybook Bible. Make sure you go and get it. And we're gonna be on page 152. So this story is called Daniel and the Scary Sleepover. Who likes a sleepover? I do. Well, let's see what happens here. Things were not looking good for God's people. They had been captured and taken far from home, and now they were slaves of a king in Babylon. But God had not left his people. He was with them and he was looking after them. Daniel loved God and obeyed him. Now God made Daniel able to understand lots of difficult things. So it wasn't long before the king of Babylon noticed him, King Darius. And he liked how clever Daniel was. So he made Daniel his most important helper of all and put him in charge of lots of other helpers. But the other helpers didn't like this. Imagine that, you have a friend who's the most popular person with your teacher. Sometimes we don't like that because they get all the attention. So anyway, they wanted the king to like them best. They wanted to get rid of Daniel. So they spied on Daniel and they tried to find things wrong with Daniel. Things they could tell the king, things they could, but there weren't any. None. They couldn't find anything at all, except there was just one thing. Every day, 3 times a day, Daniel went to his room, closed the door, and prayed. They smiled to themselves. Let's get the king to make a law. No one's allowed to pray except to the king. Daniel won't obey this law, and he'll be punished. They were pleased with themselves for being so clever and hurried off to tell the king. The king liked their idea. He didn't know they were tricking him, so he made it into a law. Everyone should pray only to me. If you don't, the lions will have you for dinner. Daniel heard this. He knew it was wrong to pray to anyone except for God. And he had to do what God said, whatever it cost him, even if it meant he would die. Daniel went to his room, he closed the door, and he prayed. That's just what the bad men knew Daniel would do. They skipped straight off to tell the king, "Oh, your most glittering highness, your law says, does it not, that everyone must pray to you alone, sire?" "Yes," said the king. "Oh, magisterial brightness, then correct us if we are wrong. But it would seem that Daniel is praying to God and not to you." The king was sad. He had been tricked. He didn't want to hurt Daniel, but he couldn't change his law. So he let the soldiers throw Daniel into the lions. "May your God, who loves you so much, rescue you," the king said. The king went back to his palace, but he didn't sleep that night. Not a wink. He tossed and turned until finally, at the first glimmer of dawn, he leapt out of bed and ran straight to the den. "Daniel," he cried, "has your God rescued you?" "Yes," Daniel shouted. "God sent an angel to close the lion's mouth." And there, resting his head on Daniel's lap, was the biggest lion, purring like a little kitten. The king brought Daniel out of the den. "Look," he said, "Daniel doesn't even have a scratch." The king made a new law. Daniel's God is the true God and the God who rescues. Pray to him instead. God would keep on rescuing his people, and the time was coming when God would send another brave hero. You guys know who he is. Like Daniel, who would love God and do what God said, whatever it cost him, and even if it meant he would die. Together, they would pull off the greatest rescue the world has ever known. You guys, you can trust God with everything. You can trust God when he asks you to do something and know that you can obey him and that he has a rescue plan even for you. Just like he sent Jesus to be our rescuer, he rescues you every single day, anytime you call upon his name, okay? So if you're in a tough situation, you just say, "God, rescue me," and he'll be there for you, just like he was with Daniel, okay? See you later, 180 kids. Bye.